right, welcome to this evening's meeting. We're going to have a silent prayer for invocation. It'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please stand with me. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our August the 3rd, 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting. Our first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Any members of the board want to offer any amendments?
All right, anybody has any amendments, deletions? You good, Commissioner? I'm good. All right, hearing none. Take a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Our first order of business is the ARPA project recommendations, and this will be presented by Dennis Johnson.
Mr. Johnson?
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Commissioners. Today before you, I'm going to reveal and discuss the recommendations for the ARPA funding that the county received back in March.
And ARPA is American Rescue Plan.
Yes. So where we are is, again, when we started, we reached out to different entities within the county, and we prioritized how that funding should be allocated to the best of our ability at that time. And the number one priority was public health response. The number two priority was negative economic impact. The number three was to replace lost revenue. Number four was broadband infrastructure. Number five was premium pay for essential workers. And number six was water sewer infrastructure. So as a result, we have the following recommendations to allocate the funding that we received this year. The first item is we're recommending a premium pay option for $12,642,416 for 1,468 employees, and these are $8,000 per employee paid over two increments over the year, 6 months apart. And this is for frontline premium pay for frontline workers who daily with their action are in the public eye, who are facing the public, and who treat the public during the pandemic. The next one is for us, a 3-year funding to each of the courts, as well as the solicitor's office, the DA, and the circuit public defender, to allow for reaching the court backlog. Right now, due to the pandemic, the courts are backlogged beyond their ability to react at this time. And this is funding to allow them to, whether the part-time, whatever resource they need to expedite court cases that are there in the courts, to move those forward expeditiously. The next item, we're recommending $500,000 for AED devices, which are defibrillators, in all the police cars as part of the public health response. The next item is $850,000 for a public health treatment unit, an additional one for the county, and we saw the benefits as part of the public health response, and to have an additional unit for the county to utilize. The next amount of money is $3,532,500, and that is for Southern Regional, for us to allow them to implement a retention plan and hiring bonus as part of the public health response. And there's a severe nursing shortage, I think many of you were aware, and they're in a particularly difficult situation with over a 60% turnover rate. Many nurses have tired of being in the front line of the pandemic, and they've gone to more agency type nursing services that cost the hospital a great deal of money, but also give them a relief where they can take jobs and take weeks off as they need to, which many nurses weren't able to do during the height of the pandemic. The other category here is information technology, and part of that is to expand the countywide broadband where it makes sense, and also to allow for cybersecurity as part of all that and IT infrastructure. And that amount is $2,568,000. And you see the different components there, very similar to the request that was made months ago. The next item is for the county economic development to allocate $5 million for small business grants to offset COVID-19 impact. This is for businesses who can demonstrate that they've been impacted by COVID, and we're able to help them recover based on the impact that it's had on their business. And this will be administered by the Economic Development Department of the county. The next item is for the Development Authority, and this is for job training to offset the COVID-19 impact for those affected by the pandemic. And they have various training programs established in specific industries in the amount of $1,175,000.
Mr. Chairman, my phone is on. I thought I turned it off, and I do dearly apologize to you and all the people in here. I got a new phone, and I don't know how to operate it.
Well, thank you for your apology, Mr. Garber. But please silence it at this time.
If I knew how,
How about going to the back and getting that old officer back there, that LT? He might be able to help you out. There you go, Chief. Continue on. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Mr.
that's fine.
Jones.
The next item is the Clayton County Chamber of Commerce, and they're establishing a small business technical assistance for those that have been affected by the COVID-19 as well. For the Clayton County Water Authority, we're funding two programs, one for customer debt relief for those that were affected by the pandemic in the amount of $1,288,000, and they're increasing and doubling the amount of hardship assistance they're providing to individuals in the amount of $216,000 for a total of $1,504,000. Community Development has requested 3 items. The first one is a down payment assistance program for $425,000. The second is an emergency home repair for $575,000. And the third is an establishment of a CHODO, or Community Housing Development Organization, that allows the county to develop housing that is needed within the county. And they're going to work jointly with the Clayton County Housing Authority for them to implement it, because there's a benefit and a synergy from the two organizations working together. And that total allocation is $5 million. The next item is for Clayton County Community Service Board. And I think as part of the negative public health impact, we're providing some hardship assistance, supplement, because they're also faced with folks that want to leave and are paid on the lower end in terms of wages that are paid to folks who support the mental health area, and also incentives and COVID-19 expenses that they've incurred to allow them to recover. And that total amount is $2,374,322. We're also, as part of the negative public health impact, we're providing $5 million for the initial medical examiners infrastructure to allow us to add that to our public health response. Within the Senior Service Center, we are providing $365,000 to the Alzheimer's Service Center to complete the deferred maintenance that has been long overdue in that facility, since it's an underserved area within the county. Again, I mentioned earlier that the Clayton County Housing Authority will team up with community development, so there's none of these recommendations. They were not allocated any funding. Also, the Tourism Authority, the requested projects are not allowed under the interim rule. Promotional items are not allowed, but those industries affected by the tourism business can apply for the grants that have in fact been impacted by COVID through the economic development. So, you know, the tourism industry was hit pretty hard, and those organizations can apply for those small business grants as well. The next area we're looking at is the Clayton County Public Safety Assistance. And this is where we're going to allocate some of the EMS salary and benefits to be charged to the ARPA funds in the amount of $7,160,000. And this is where they will offset the county expense within this, with these funds for those that are on the direct front line activity for the pandemic, which we know EMS is and qualifies. Also, we're incurring over 3 years, $2,865,000 for sheriff additional medical assistance because their medical costs have risen as a result of the pandemic as well. The next item is we have $1 million of additional funds for the Clayton County nonprofits to aid them because many of those organizations are supporting the efforts during the pandemic within the county. We're also looking at the Office of Performance Management, the need for grants and policy folks. These are 3-year amounts in order to support all the activity that's going on with all the CARES money, the ARPA money, and there's even new additional potential state funds we may be able to receive as well. Also, one of the more important areas is we're allocating $25,000 a year to communications because we have all these funds available and we have to do a great job of communicating with our public to make people aware that we have these resources for them. So this is, I think, an urgent amount here for us to fund as well. The last item that I have is we haven't allocated $8.6 million for 2 reasons. The first of all is that we're going to get smarter as we go through this process, and we're going to see areas of need that are going to be identified right away, and you're going to be able to allocate funding because we haven't spent all our money at this time. And I think the second is, as the pandemic continues, we're all kind of we're all puzzled which way it's going. We may have to respond with new services as a result of the pandemic. And so having this unallocated amount, I think, is to our benefit at this time. And you can choose to allocate it as you see fit at this point. Again, the total amount that was allocated to the county was $66,847,996. And out of that, $8,630,336 has yet to be allocated at this time. You can see that one of the goals that was set when we allocate these funds was the predominant of the public health response and the negative economic impact. And with this graph, you can see that 64% of the funding goes to those 2 categories right away, which was our intent at the beginning of this whole item. And if you look at the 19% for premium pay, much of those funds, people receiving premium pay, are those individuals who treat people with COVID day in and day out. And so even a greater portion of those funds have gone to those high need categories. So the one area that we did not allocate any funding to was to revenue loss. The county, as of right now, the county did not meet the criteria for revenue loss. And I know that surprises everybody, but the calculation combines several types of revenue that just don't seem to go together, like SPLOST and grants and the general fund, because we all knew that in the general fund there were certain categories of items that we just didn't have this year because of the pandemic. Certain court fees, fines, rec fees, things that we were normally accustomed to. But based on the legislation, we were not able to qualify for it at this time. And then we have spoken to so many jurisdictions and we're part of so many conversations with those across the country. Many people are finding that the revenue loss calculation is a difficult benchmark to meet at this time. So where does this leave us? Well, the action items are, we're going to allocate the funds to approve projects. For those that you choose to approve this evening, we're going to take those, we're going to allocate those funds within the system, and we're allocating them. We're keeping these funds. They're not going to be intertwined with any other funds within the general fund, We've created a special fund as required within the grants area, and we're treating it like a grant. So there'll be a review of every expenditure by county employees. We're allocating them to the projects, so those that make sense to get started on, we should go ahead. For those non-county entities, we're going to have MOUs just like we do on our local assistance grants. This is going to spell out where the money can be spent, what's not allowable. We don't want people going on trips or travel or training or anything like that. And then we're also going to determine the initial funding. I don't know that it's going to be prudent to influx all this money unless it makes sense, unless somebody makes an argument that says, we need all this money right away, and here's why. But we'll determine what the initial funding level should be for each entity and see what makes sense. We don't need to, and make sure they're able to report what's necessary for us to report to the Treasury, and we can go from there. And then we're establishing reporting and verification. Dr. Smith's group and my grants analysts in finance are going to be reporting quarterly to the Treasury to make sure that we're in total compliance, and it'll be subject to audit. The way the state has set this up and the way the Treasury, it's like any other grant. It's going to be highly scrutinized, and it'll be a major program, and it will solely get audited, just like CARES money is going to get audited this year from last year. And so there'll be transparency, and we'll be able to see, kind of make sure we did everything appropriately. Any questions?
All right, thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions for Mr. Johnson or staff?
Yes.
Commissioner
A
Hammer.
couple of questions, and the first question is, what timeline do we have as far as spending this $66 million?
So funds must be allocated by December 31st, 2024. So we have to just basically tell the Treasury where we're intending to spend the money. The last amount has to be spent by 2026, yes, right? December 31st, 2026. What I provided you in the secondary schedule was looking out 3 years, the best of our ability at this point. And because we received $33 million already, obviously for the first year I can't go over that amount. But that's kind of where we have, the amount of time we have to spend the money.
I'm sorry. The second 33 will come in when?
It should come in May of next year of 2022. A year from the receipt of the first $33 million.
Commissioner Hambrick, yes.
Okay, and you mentioned something about a new Chodo. Is Ejike here?
Yes.
Do we have a new Chodo? Is that correct? We do have a new Chodo?
Yes, ma'am.
Take the mic.
Okay. Great.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad.
So explain what that is. Explain what that is. What is she?
He wants you to explain what the Chodo is.
Oh, Chodo is a community housing development organization.
Right.
They are responsible for developing our residential homes, ranges for low to moderate income folks in the county. It also invites the partnership with the private sector to do that. So the money that we are allocating to Chodo, we will work with Clayton County Housing Authority and other entities that will come and partner in there. And the Chodo is closely monitored by HUD to make sure that we're providing those things. The only one Chodo we have at this time is Habitat. So we are trying to create a second one to increase the ability to provide those housing units.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure the citizens were clear.
Right, okay.
Commissioner
And let's see, the medical initial infrastructure. What-
So I think previously there was a presentation about the need for a medical examiner's office. And this would be the first step in allocating funding there to provide the infrastructure to allow us to build that over the next several years, both from needs of all the county departments and also just from a public health aspect.
Okay, what's included in the infrastructure?
The facility, we've been working with Chief Roberts, and we've been looking at comparative facilities across the nation, as well as within the Georgia, Gwinnett County, Cobb County, and what these facilities cost to build, and then what they cost to equip over time. So it's not something maybe we're going to be able to absorb in one amount. So this would be to start the item and maybe allocate additional funds to provide the facility, and then little by little by little provide what is necessary to complete that for the county to offset the high operating costs that we get every year in that area.
Will that money will we be able to use that money as far as personnel is concerned?
Not having a facility yet, I don't know that we'll reach the threshold, but I think we do feel that some of the personnel costs would be under the public health response would be allowable. But again, over time, we would then have to pick those funds up.
Right,
So we
'cause
need a
I'm thinking that,
facility.
yeah.
Some of the personnel costs may be allowed, and then over time, we would have to absorb those costs.
Because I'm sure all those would be medical personnel.
Yes.
And it's going to be very expensive. Let's see, I have something here on the Clayton County Nonprofit Assistance. Oh, who will be in charge over where we have the other requests as far as the nonprofit assistance? Is that going to be done like it has been in the past with the Development Authority, Economic Development, and Chamber?
What, are you talking about the nonprofit assistance?
Yes.
Last time we did that internally here within Clayton County, just like we do the almost $900,000. You'll be seeing the requests that were submitted to the collaborative, and then we'll be scoring those, and you'll be able to make those recommendations. We're going to use a similar process because the financial knowledge of these entities has to be revealed. We have to make sure that they comply with state requirements, and that that the requests are valid.
Yeah.
So it's the same process.
Okay, so how is it different from the Economic Development and the Development Authority, and is that
Those are
different?
The Economic Development Department is grants to business, which is what they did with the CARES funding last year. In other words, I have a business in Clayton County, and I was negatively affected by COVID, and I could use some funding to help me get back on track. That's what the folks at the Development Authority and the Chamber and those folks working together will provide.
Okay.
That'll be direct assistance to businesses.
Okay, that's it for me.
Any other questions?
I do.
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Going back to the medical examiner, is that going to, in a sense, help us offset any of our general funds that would have been allocated to get a medical examiner's office built?
Over time.
Over time?
Yes. I think over time is we need to have the infrastructure, because I think as Chief Roberts is, as we've had conversations, it's a costly proposition. You need a lot of infrastructure, you need a lot of testing equipment, it's capital intensive to begin with.
Exactly.
And that's really where we are. So I'm not sure at what point we'll get the benefit of that at this point, because we need to have that resource available to us.
Okay, great. And have we spoken to the DA in relation to this? I remember at the meetings before, she did have a lot of concerns or input into that facility, so I want to make sure she's involved in that as well.
Yeah, I have not directly from a financial standpoint, but I do think that based on the conversations in the past, that would be something that I think she and her office would welcome, having a medical examiner as
well, the
part of
funding-
the county.
The funding hasn't been in place to have those discussions as of yet. This
Exactly.
would allow that point for
Take us to the
discussions to
next step,
start.
yes.
Correct.
Exactly.
And also, too, I want to go to the end. Establish reporting and verification. Are we going to do all that in-house as far as monitoring the spending of these funds?
Yes.
We are going to do it all
Yeah,
in-house.
it'll be, for the in-county entities, they'll have to go through a system which has a series, as the chairman can swear on, of approvals that need to be done. So
Okay.
it'll be vetted by my grant staff, by department heads, and then at the end, we'll approve these transactions, whether they come to me or anybody else, or Dr. Smith. So we will have a very serious review. And then quarterly, we're looking for review from those entities outside the county, because again, we have to report to the Treasury every
Correct.
quarter. So we'll be monitoring and giving them the requirements, and that's part of Dr. Smith's role, will be to communicate those requirements specifically to each entity, so they know what's expected prior to getting money.
Okay. And I'll re-ask that. I'm not Definitely not stepping on you all in your professionalism and your integrity to get the job done. I just want to make sure that we are covered in case of an audit, if something that we've got another second or third or fourth pair of eyes looking at that, because that's not what we do not want to be responsible for, is having to give back that kind of money.
No, we don't, sir.
Okay, and then a lot of the programs that I'm seeing as far as from the Development Authority, Economic Development, the only thing I'm going to say is that I would love to see how these programs are going to be implemented before we begin to turn over those kind of funds to those departments, those organizations, to begin to go back and do training. What type of training are we going to do for our citizens in order to getting them work, and how we're going to begin to place them?
The Development Authority actually laid out a pretty good plan and did provide specifics about what they expected the wages to be, how many people, and how quickly they were able to get jobs. I thought we had provided copies of all the requests, but we can forward that one to you if you'd like to see it.
Great.
And in addition to that, Commissioner,
Yes.
I'm requesting a project program model with objectives, key performance indicators, as well as outcomes for each project that we
Okay. And I did have a question. The Southern Regional. I know Southern Regional now is privately owned, but we have to have or privately operated, I should say. But we have to have them in our community. We definitely must have them. I'm just concerned, what is the Convert East Tower? I see a Convert East Tower for their Phase 1B on there.
There was a whole series of their initial requests that came in for infrastructure.
Excuse me.
What that was for, I think it was 2A, more of a dedicated pandemic unit. The issue with not addressing those specific capital needs at this time is because they don't have nurses to man anything.
Understand.
I've reached out to Chief Murkison, and he can express to you the urgent need they have for this funding to get nurses in the emergency room and ICU. And again, that's costing them revenue because they're shutting some of these down or deferring patients when they reach a critical point in time.
Okay. And what I did see a small portion of it in is, I know our moratorium is ending. And how are we going to begin to make sure so that some of our citizens that are in need are being taken care of with this as well? But also, a lot of our property owners that live in the county are taken care of as well. Because granted, I feel for both sides of it. One, you've got to pay, these folks have got to pay the bank for these buildings, but we also need to take care of these citizens who cannot pay their rent at this time. So I think we need to really focus on a balancing act there as
So
well.
if you'll address it, there's an enormous amount of separate funds have been dedicated to rental assistance already. Through the magistrate court, I think we've already utilized about $1 million.
Correct.
$1 million, just allocated an additional $4 million to the magistrate court, and we also, currently we have $12 million.
Okay.
We've just spent out maybe about $1.2 million, and we are still taking applications. One of the things we're working with communications on is ensuring that we get the word out that we do have funds available to assist constituents in the area for rental assistance.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
As far as this money is concerned, when will the first checks be written?
It depends on what they're for, and we anticipate probably during the course of August to finalize some of the programs with external clients. With internal, if it's approved, we can start to spend some of these monies with departments as is deemed necessary and directly. So I would imagine we'll start to see some of the money around the first part of September to be allocated and spent.
Commissioner
I can
Franklin.
hear that question coming.
Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, thank you for your detailed presentation. I was hoping that we would have had an opportunity to see this last Tuesday, because originally on the list of items that were discussed on the agenda, it was on the agenda to vote on this tonight.
Right.
Is that still the case? Because I'm looking at this and I don't see it on our regovern.
It's at the end of
The consent agenda.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to say this, just listening to the questions, even though I know that you all have worked diligently, this is allocating funds that are severely needed. To be able to make a decision to vote on it, it would have been better if we had the updated presentation last week so that we have time to mull it over, or this past work session, but it was pulled. So for me, personally, I just want to state, this is great work. I don't feel comfortable enough voting on it tonight because we're now just getting the updated presentation tonight, and then we're going to vote on it. But
I've had mine for a while.
Yeah.
no, we're not talking about presenting it in writing. It's very important that we have these work sessions so that we can discuss it. There are a lot of questions, just even though we've all had it, there are a lot of questions right now that have come before. So I just think moving forward, especially dealing with the pandemic and uncertain economic atmosphere, it's important that we have an opportunity to really take it, mull it over, hear the presentation, and then be able to think on it and ask additional questions. I've had it as well. I've reviewed it in detail. But again, I was just hoping to have this presentation before. Another thing I want to add is you mentioned something that was really key, the revenue loss calculator. Mm-hmm. So maybe we should add that to our list of items for prioritization when we go back and we ask for our representatives to go and ask for changes within that prioritization. Yeah. So we can add that in there as well.
Well, the calculation is detailed in the legislation by the Treasury. It is singular. Honestly, it's not very well done.
Right.
So again, that would be something that at the federal government level, if you could change that calculation, I think we've tossed around with local governments, those that have a median income below a certain point should have had a portion of it just be discretionary, because obviously the community has a need, and that money could have been maybe better targeted had it been done that way.
Correct. And so that's why I said we should add it, because we have lobbyists, we have folks that represent us, so this needs to be added to that list. Not to you, it's just really to our board to add it to our list of priorities so that they can work on that, because we get more response when we work collectively. We're not the only government that are seeing that with the calculations. And if I may go back, because I heard everyone say we've had it, I have done this work exercise on a couple of other levels, and we have had several work sessions specific to this. And we've had one, and all I'm speaking of, it'd be great to have had another one before we vote on it, and then it's not brought back until the next time around. But at any rate, everything looks really good. The only other question I have for you is, you stated that 2024 is when we have to allocate or vote to allocate. What was the 2024?
Allocate, commit the funding. In other words, that would be the last time we could say this last dollar was committed to this area.
The last
and
dollar.
Equals the
Got
total.
it.
It doesn't have to be spent for 2 years later after that, December 31st, 2026.
Good deal. Thank you so very much. Mr. Ajiki, I wasn't clear on your answer either. There was a question about CHOTA? And you said that what you were trying to do. Tell us a little bit more about CHOTA real quick, because has it been established? When was it established? Are you trying to get it established? I wasn't quite certain on your answer there.
Let me start with your last question. We do have a current CHOTA, which we handle with Habitat. What happened is that we want to increase the capacity of CHOTAs to provide housing in the county. And in order to do that, we saw that as a vehicle to use to be able to work together with Clayton County Housing Authority, and also hopefully expand our reach by partnering with the private sector to get some more folks in. Since you asked that question, the plan here is to change the housing pattern in the county. That has started with some of the things we are suggesting on the architectural standards, the aesthetics of the county. Our housing stock are kind of not where they're supposed to be. So with the new CHOTAs, we are seeking folks who can create affordable housing, but aesthetically pleasing housing. So that's what the CHOTA would do for us.
So once again, the question was asked, do we have another one? The answer was yes before you went in further. But once again, you're saying you're seeking folks. So has this second CHOTA been established?
We are working on the second CHOTA. We are talking to the group, the CHOTA. We found a group because HUD has to approve who is a CHOTA. You have to be registered with HUD. So we have a group, a non-profit we're talking to already. So they have all the hard qualifications to do that. So that part is being done. If this gets approved, then we now have some resources with the Clayton County Housing Authority to be able to do projects. Children monies are only used when they find a project, not just give folks. They have to identify a project. When that is done, we send the project down to HUD. Then everything gets approved up front. Then we manage the process of building it.
Okay. And so basically, it's not established yet. You're talking to somebody about.
One is established, which is
Not the other one.
habitat.
But the question was, do we have a second one? So the answer is no, not yes.
We're establishing, we almost there. We're just waiting on this money to be able to give them the green light.
Okay, because I don't remember seeing that come before the board. That's why I was asking.
Not yet.
Okay.
Once we get there, then we prepare our usual action plan.
Okay.
If you remember, anything from HUD requires an action plan
Correct.
that talks about the program, the funding, and all that. Then once we get to that part, then we'll bring it to the board.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. You were going to say something else. Go ahead.
No, we just want to vet them, make sure they are HUD certified. We're doing that part right now to make sure that we're in line with what the housing and urban development guidelines are. Then we'll bring them to the board.
There doesn't have to be an RFP for that at all? You just choose them?
No, no, you don't really have to have an RFP as long as you're going through the process of the housing and urban development.
Okay.
Because you have to be certified by them already
Okay.
before we can actually engage the person.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, I will say this, that this art work group, you have done a tremendous job. And I commend Dr. Smith, Mr. Johnson, our CFO, Ramona Bivens, CFO, and I think you might have a little something to do with that too, Chuck Reed. Definitely the sports staff as well. Did have done a tremendous job. I said COO, Dietrich Stanford, COO. Can you give him a round of applause, please? All right. Thank you for what you do. At any rate, in all sincerity, they have done a tremendous job, and I'm very proud of the work that they have done thus far. There's a lot of people out there who need this help, and the businesses need this help. We as a county need to stand in a position, especially when these funds are given to us, to make sure that it's properly dispensed, but also make sure there's accountability to it. And I think that from that level, this group has got every I dotted and T crossed. So I just want to say publicly appreciate all the hard work that you put into it. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Public comment, Madam Clerk.
Board will now hear public comments. Citizens will be given 3 minutes maximum time to speak before the Board of Commissioners. Please state your name and county of residency for the record. Speak clearly into the microphone, and speakers should be courteous, respectful, and not make any disparaging remarks or use abusive language when addressing the board.
Ms. Teresa Talley.
Teresa Talley, Hampton, Georgia. It's posted throughout the county that our opinions matter. Does it really? How can some of our tax dollars be allocated for some of these items? These are some things that will help our county, but they are not mandatory because the county refused to pay the cost with our tax dollars. Beautification program removed by Commissioners Franklin and Hambrick. We can hire landscaping companies. who agreed that GDOT will only cut the grass every 6 months per their contract instead of monthly. Regularly grass cut throughout the entire county. Closed businesses maintain their outer look until sold. We should have sweeping trucks to clean up the streets and plazas throughout the county. Business maintain working cameras, outside lighting, and maintain the outside. It would be nice if the county offered a one-time for the residents to discard household unwanted items with a place and a container. This could be done at the park. Abandoned buildings and houses that are not maintained after 10 years should be abolished. This should have been in their contract. There are consequences when we don't pay our rent, car note, and mortgages. If you are in a position to make decisions in Clayton County, but you are not invested, you should be really removed. I received a survey 2 weeks ago regarding mandatory trash recycle, which was not sent to all the residents. Why? Why are we still talking about this? We voted, we opposed. Why is the county pushing so hard for this? Who will profit? Who is getting paid for this? Businesses will receive lesser taxes. Homeowners will receive higher taxes, which will their higher mortgage payment. What are we saying to the homeowners that are paying their own trash bill? What are we saying? Nope. We want control over your trash services. You don't know what you're doing. Let us control your trashes. To hear this, you all should be ashamed of yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. Time's up. Rovenia Spence. Ms. Spence. Mickey Garber.
Madam Clerk, Mickey Garber, unincorporated Rex, Georgia. Commissioners, I want to speak on two topics. Number one, this tax problem that you have here. People would not be coming down here opposing the taxes if when you build in their community, you build to a higher level rather than a lower level. The only one of you that I've seen address this situation is Commissioner Warner, making a bill to go back and draw something better. That being said, let me move on to the next subject. All my neighbors and friends are wholeheartedly against mandatory trash pickup. My assessment of the trash and litter problem. Our problem with litter and trash is caused by only 1% of our population. 1% of our population is causing 100% of our problem. If you pass mandatory trash pickup, you will be punishing 99% of our population. To help with litter and trash, let me just offer this little advice. People in wrecker services after a wreck leave car parts and glass in the intersections. They used to carry brooms and buckets for picking things up that were left. That is just one option of keeping our county clean. Do either any of you have any questions? Seeing there are none, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, sir. Gerald Stapp. Gerald Stapp. Kenneth and Charlotte Starr. Vicky Broughton. Samuel.
I forgot my last name.
Yeah, because that's where you scratch this out. All right. How you doing, Sam?
How you doing, sir? Greetings. My name is Samuel Albanese, like the guitars. So, first of all, thank you, gentlemen, for the great presentation that you're doing. And I want to say, like somebody mentioned it about the Southern Regional, which I've been patient over there like about 20 times already. And it does need a lot of attention. Does need a lot of attention. So once we come with almost more than $500 million into this funding to Clayton, we will appreciate it. And thank you, Ms. Felicia, that you say that, Commissioner Felicia, that you're saying about, pointed out that yes, we need to go through, look it up a little more open, because the salaries of those people, I think they need, somebody told me, they say, why you call us a hero when our salaries is under the budget? Why you call us a hero when you are really coming in and you seek and you discriminate in some other way, this way? So that's one. Say now you say working collectively, that's cool, working together. Ms. Gail, I would like to see you more often where I need you, because I don't see you where I need you, and I've been calling you too many times. Now we're looking out for Hood. Hood in Clayton County is amazing, but it's very, can you see it? So I would like to see if we can take a look a little more closer to that. Communication. We have a lot of good things in communication, but we don't have so many understanding. English, Spanish, French, Japanese. We have like about 27 languages out here. And we have only 2-3 languages communicated. We call in the Clayton County, and what we have. Hello, it's Governor. What's going on? Relax. Give me your website, your phone number. We have plenty of time to enjoy life. God bless you.
Thank you. Melvin Johnson.
All right, how y'all doing today?
Good, how are you?
I live in Long County. I used to be a resident of Clayton County.
State your name first.
Melvin Johnson.
Thank you.
All right, the issue I have is the jail. My son been incarcerated there 3 years. 3 years. Friday night, my son got shanked 9 times in that jail. Twice in the head, 7 in the body. No phone call from that jail. I was in Minneapolis. I'm a truck driver. I drove from Minneapolis to Gainesville, Florida, all night to get home this morning at 5 o'clock. I live 4 hours away from here to drive to this county today. I went to that jail before I came here. No answers. When do I got carjacked here 15 years ago in this county. When do the county stand up and start looking out for residents? My son is an inmate, but he's a human being. I'm a father. Give me the respect that I need for my child in that jail over there. You can't get an answer from nobody over there. That's so nasty to you when you call over there. The guy picked the phone up Sunday when my wife tried to reach out to him, pick it up, put it down, and hung up on her. Did my mother-in-law the same way. I know it's a brother system in the police department, I get that. But when you have an officer come into an inmate cell, check it, don't find nothing, walk out, check everybody else's cell, come back to that cell, and all of a sudden you find something, get out of here with that one. And you walk my son to the hole. This guy's supposed to be in the hole. When how do a inmate know that my son is walking down the hallway? You pop the door to let an inmate out to stab my son?
Please calm down just a little bit, sir. I understand.
My question is, I want to know, where do it stop in the jail system where the officers just continue to just overlook and do what they want to do? He did something to put himself there, I understand that. But at some point, they have to start being accountable for the reason why those inmates act the way they act, because of the way the guards treat them. If you treat them like dogs, they're going to act like dogs. Man, commissioners, only thing I ask, I just wanted to see my son. I got 5 kids. I saw it laying up over there. Nobody want to give me an answer. Nobody. Give me the respect, man. I excuse my language, but just give me the respect. That's all I ask. I've been up since Sunday, driving the truck illegal, because I'm trying to get back here to make sure my son is okay.
Well, your time is up, sir, but have you tried to speak with the chief deputy that's in charge over there?
I went over there. I'm getting no answer.
Did you speak to anybody specifically?
Nobody. I went over there today. The guy at the front office, front desk, a real nice guy. Young lady.
Chief, speak to the chief of police. He's the chief, the police chief, but he's going to try to make sure that you can reach somebody.
Melvin, before you leave, I'm always respectful, but we allow outbursts in this room all the time.
Okay.
And when we have a father that's coming here on behalf of his son, I apologize to you for somebody asking you to calm down. I'm sorry.
Well,
and I want to say thank you. I know Melvin. Melvin is a personal friend of mine. I got a mask. I'm not trying to go back and forth. But I want to tell you that we hear you, although we can't govern that sheriff's office. We cannot govern it. But I hear you. And we're going to continue to pray for you, and we're going to continue to do what we can do within the authority. And I will try my best to make a call over there for you. And I'm going to leave this dais for you 1 second, okay?
That's all I ask for.
Thank you.
And we're working on that. And trust me, I don't need her to apologize for me. I understand your plight, and my heart bleeds for you. But please know, we're going to do what we can do to try to make sure you make contact.
That's all I ask, man.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I'll come tomorrow and give you a call, okay? And we'll figure out what we can do.
Go to the next one.
Commissioner Franklin, you are out of order by leaving the dais. Commissioner Franklin. All right, let's move on. Eleanor Lloyd. Excuse me? No, you must come forward to the podium, ma'am. Yeah, I was about to say, somebody please help her down.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Eleanor Lord, and I came here last week to voice my opinion about my neighbors, and this is going on about 2 years coming September, and I need help, and until now I haven't received any help from the police, but I spoke with Mr. Turner, and he told me what he would do. Even last night, the neighbors, he was still putting light in my bedroom started from 9 way back until 5 o'clock. And I didn't have nobody to call. And this has been going on for a very, very long time. And I need help. And when I said it to my family members, they're saying that if I'm not getting no help from the police, I'm to write the governor for the state of Georgia and tell him what is happening, because I need help. I'm living in fear. When every time I'm going in my house, it's like I have to hide. And if I'm in my house, I have to hide in the bathroom because of the dynamic sound that the neighbors are doing to me. I have to stay out in the days, afraid to go to my house. And I'm a citizen of Clayton County. I lived there 16 years. And when the taxes went up, I didn't hide or I didn't move. I paid the taxes. And I'm not getting no help. And I need help. These neighbors, they're away from Norcross. And I'm a citizen of Clayton County. And please help me. I need help. I cannot do this by myself. Because the Bible said, faith alone doesn't work. So that means I need some people to help me, so that if I prayed, I may get through my problem. So please help me. I need help.
Have you spoken to the police chief since last night? Because I had them to conduct a surveillance of your residence last night, and they came up with some information to share with you. So the police chief is in the back, so please see him before you go, so he can give you some solutions to the problem.
And I have it on my camera too, sir.
Okay, great. But they were out there last night, because I heard back from them a couple of times.
Until in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is what I'm facing every day of my life. So it's like I'm just scared to go in my home. I don't eat in my home. I can't cook. I can't do nothing in my home.
Yes, ma'am. Please, like I said, see the police chief again, and we'll circle back around. Thank you, ma'am. Dwight, Orlando Gooden. Yes, sir.
Orlando Gooden, Clayton County. Most of these comments have been addressed by Mr. Johnson. I'm busy over there scratching things out. So just bear with me. Chairman Turner, these work sessions are very informative. I've watched the July 13th work session with the CREST team. The presentation on economic development and strategic planning was very good. It is a blueprint for success because it takes the vision from your state of the county and adds the ideas from the 2019 Commissioners Retreat. It had recommendations on housing and income equality, labor and employment, small business, and healthcare, which was addressed earlier. But these 3 words caught my attention: priority, safety, and image. Well, the priority starts with the Deputy CFO Dennis Johnson's June 22nd work session. Obviously, he just addressed it again. Presentation on departmental requests for additional funding for the American Rescue Plan. That was excellent. But I was concerned with how are you going to make $135 million fit into 66, so I got my answer. All the algebra, geometry, and trigonometry didn't help me figure that one out. Public safety is law enforcement, fire department, and EMS services. Their additional funding is a priority. The people in Fulton County will tell you it is. I watched the July 27th work session, and Commissioner Franklin spoke about the need to address traffic fatalities. So far this year, 25 people have died. I think that was increased to 31 when I checked it last. The need for additional lighting and crosswalks was addressed by Paul Denard and Justin Hatch of the Georgia Department of Traffic. They made some excellent recommendations for Highway 1941 and all the state roads. The issue was getting the funding from QRF. Image. We are no longer the dumping ground for Atlanta, and the perception of greed and incompetence can change, but only if commissioners clean up their act. Start with a code of conduct. Why should we trust you if you can't work together on that? The need for more accountability from commissioners and a better public relations campaign. We were talking about the universal trash pickup. I think you're going to have a town hall meeting. That's what you did the last time, right? The funding for the Alzheimer's Senior Center, that one's personal to me. And the last one is, why is the city of Lovejoy annexing everything? Right now I live in Jonesboro. I think I'm gonna have to change my address to Lovejoy because they keep cutting out parts of it. Don't they have to come to you to get approval to do this?
Yes, they have to submit.
So you're approving them? Do
No.
I have to change my address? The post office is gonna love
Let me,
you.
let me explain
Go
to
ahead.
you that when it's 100% annexation, there's very little we can do about it. We can fight them all day long, but if the residents sign that they want to be annexed into the city, then that's a losing proposition for us, and we would be throwing good money at taxpayers'
So the
money.
residents?
Yes, the
are
businesses and
approving it?
residents have to approve to be annexed in. Some can fight it, so if it's not 100%, then it can come before us, and we can choose to fight it on their behalf, but we're paying taxpayers' money to do so.
Well, don't they have meetings on that, hearings, something to let the people in this area know? My new address will now be Lovejoy? I mean, they can't
Well,
just...
it's not Lovejoy until they annex it in. It has to be approved by it has to be approved by a judge.
So they go to the people who are the residents in
That's
the
gonna
community,
impact,
and
yes.
they say they want to be part of Lovejoy.
Yes.
And then the judge approves it.
Yeah, they make the petition or the application. And
Well, I
then-
know they did that. One of the things for the traffic was that street Flicker Road, I think it is. Well, they annexed it just to put a liquor store there. That
Yep.
was wonderful.
Okay, thank you, sir. Madam
You're
Clerk-
so welcome, sir.
Madam Clerk, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. The board will now entertain the consent agenda items.
All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any question on any of the items?
Well, I have a question on number 1.
Yes, ma'am.
Today is the 3rd.
Yes.
Are we approving the minutes today?
Good catch, Gary.
That's part of the consent agenda.
No, with the date, you see the
Oh,
date?
okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Got you.
It says August 3rd.
Regular business meeting minutes.
Are we changing that?
No,
Got it.
Actually, July the
Motion.
20th,
July what?
2020.
It should be, let the record
that was the last
reflect that instead of August 3rd, it's July what?
20th, 2021.
20th of 2021. Thank you, Commissioner Hambrick. Did we get a second on it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain. I was not at the July meeting.
Okay. One abstention, it passes. Next.
The next item is Resolution 2021-167.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and Board. Resolution 2021-167 is the resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Clayton County, Georgia, approving the expenditure of stimulus funds awarded to the county under the American Rescue Plan Act, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to amend the budget where necessary, to authorize the Chairman to perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of this resolution, to provide an effective date of the resolution and for other purposes.
Is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? That was Commissioner Hambrick, second the motion. All right, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next three are board appointments.
All right, first board appointment is to the Zoning Advisory Board. It's at large. Mr. Carlton Holloway's appointment to the Zoning Advisory Group will expire August 19th, 2021. New term begins on August 19th, 2021, and will expire August 19th, 2024. 3-year appointment. Are there Any recommendations? This is at large.
Yes, I would like to reappoint Mr. Carlton Holloway to that board, advisory board.
All right, the motion is to appoint. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointment is also Zoning Advisory Board. Pastor Dante Long, appointment to the Zoning Advisory Group, expires August 19, 2021. New term begins August 19, 2021, expire August 19, 2024. Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, I would like to reappoint Pastor Dante Long to that board as well.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next board appointment is a Board of Appeals. This is Miss Kathy Robeson. Term on the Board of Appeals expires August 19, 2021. New term begins August 19, 2021, expires August 19, 2024. This is Chairman's election. I move to reappoint Ms. Robeson. Is there a second?
Second.
Probably move second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Is there a need? Oh, Lord. I see him smiling already. Is there a need for executive session, Mr. Reed?
Christmas gift last week. Yes, it's just on litigation this time.
Okay.
Just litigation?
Yes.
And may I have a point of privilege, please?
Oh, personnel. Sorry.
Litigation and personnel.
Point of privilege, please.
Hold on a second. Go ahead. Commissioner Franklin. I'll go ahead and take that next. Commissioner Franklin.
Okay, so as I was stating, there was supposed to be an HOA boot camp that was scheduled on the 7th. I just received a message on it. That is going to be postponed. However, we are holding our normally scheduled town hall meeting that is going to be dedicated to safety, but also all the resources will be there throughout the county in terms of housing, job creation, and some other very important things that will help us through this period. And it's going to take place on Thursday at 6 p.m. at the South Clayton Recreation Center. And Ms. Talley, I personally invite you to please come so that you can have some answers to some of the questions that you were asking this evening, okay? Everybody's welcome.
All right, is there a motion to go to executive session for litigation and personnel?
So moved.
I'll make the second. I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, and everyone have a good evening. All right, motion to reconvene.
So moved.
Second by Commissioner Hammer. Motion made by Commissioner Davis. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Ms. Stanford.
Chairman, Vice Chair, and Board of Commissioners, we ask that you consider the request from Transportation Development for an advanced step hire of the Chief Engineer for the engineering services. We have an applicant by the name of Sean Buckley for the vacant Chief Engineer position. The entry starting salary is $86,435.06 at a pay grade 34, step 3. Mr. Buckley has counted with the 10% above the minimum, which would place the salary at $95,466 and 32 cents at pay grade 34, step 11, which is equivalent to a $9,031.26 increase for this position. So we respectfully ask the board consider the step increase for Mr. Buckley for the Chief Engineering position.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Hambrick made the
Second.
motion. Second by Commissioner Davis. Any questions?
I just have a statement.
Commissioner Franklin.
Glad to have the talent to come aboard. I just believe that, as I stated previously, as a government, we need to decide whether salaries are negotiable or non-negotiable. We bring people on, they accept a position or not accept it, but then we always come back and negotiate salaries. We currently have directors that are barely making $40-something thousand of senior services centers, as well as of some of our rec centers. And so this is one of the areas I've always spoken about, is the fact that we need to make sure that we're consistent in what we do and the decisions we make. Wonderful to have the talent aboard, but that's just my statement.
You said directors at senior centers. You mean managers?
Well, managers, they're over the center. Managers, directors, but the people are over the center. And they're told when they get hired that their salaries are non-negotiable. But yet and still, when we're always bringing in people in these roles, they're constantly negotiating their salaries. And I just think that we need to decide whether salaries are negotiable or not. Simple as that.
All right. The only thing I'll add to that is that based on experience. I think one time before we spoke, we get what we pay for. So if we are paying for greater experience than what we may have within departments, I don't have personally a problem with it.
I agree, but it needs to be equitable. That's
Can I
all
ask-
I'm stating.
Commissioner Davis.
Can I ask, Mr. Stanford, how long has this position been vacant?
5.5 years.
5.5 years, and it's a critical need position?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So it was critical 5 years ago. Any other comments, statements? All right, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.